Okay, I didn't bring my Marvel superhero cape for that arousing introduction, so hopefully everyone's ears are still attached to their heads. Day one, post-lunch, I hope everybody's excited for a really engaging topic around data security. I've got my two colleagues here with me today. We're going to take you through some thoughts around our thinking around organizations' opportunity for data security. I think certainly you're probably hearing this across the event here this week, and certainly in the news, in the reports that you read. You know, in recent years, we just witnessed a massive professionalization of the cybercrime economy, an expansion of this economy worldwide. You know, a part of this, or a derivative of this, is that this has enabled rapid innovation across that cybercrime ecosystem, and it's really lowered the bar for, you know, less technical criminals to get engaged in the game. We know that phishing service tools, like software as a service, crimeware tools, they go for like $200 to $1,000 a month for these licenses, making it even easier for these criminals to attack organizations. All of this has just contributed to massive profits. You know, we've seen different numbers. I've got up here 8 trillion. This is more than the GDP of Canada that these organizations are making globally on an annual basis. Nothing good is coming from those profits. They're defrauding Canadians and other organizations and our elderly around the world. On the skilling side, we know that the skills gap continues to be a problem. Many organizations, including Microsoft, Canadian government, academic institutions here in Canada, have made investments to improve and some great work to improve the skills gap, but the demand continues to exceed the supply. We know all our organizations are struggling with hiring and keeping skilled professionals in this space. You know, Microsoft over the past decade has really become the world's one of the world's leading cybersecurity organizations in order to be successful safeguarding customers' data in the cloud especially. You know, we have a set of integrated security capabilities that are quite unique within the industry. You know, through our first-party threat intelligence capabilities, you know, we just have this breadth and partnerships with governments. You know, we have this breadth and depth of threat intelligence that we can apply to assist our customers and help defend against attacks and innovate to stay ahead of those attackers and that cybercrime ecosystem that is really unique across the industry. Those 10,000 Microsoft security professionals, these are security engineers that are working engineering solutions that you see, that you may be a user of today. They are also organizations that are threat intelligence teams that are working with those governments that are harmonizing those 65 trillion signals. That sounds like a massive number, huge amount of petabytes of data a day, synthesized and presented in a way that's actionable and useful with context for our customers. We have a digital crimes unit team that is proactively working on disrupting that cybercrime ecosystem through takedowns, through innovative civil litigation, and partnerships with organizations like law enforcement. And then lastly, and certainly importantly for our conversation here today, is Microsoft has a vast partner ecosystem of security partners like Qohash and KPMG that really help us scale those superpowers here across Canada. Now, I mentioned earlier that cybercrime criminals are looking to maximize their profits with the least amount of effort and cost on their part. This is why social engineering and phishing are still so prevalent. They're cheap and they're easy to launch, and for the most part, they're still fairly effective. When I think of the too long, don't read version of cyber resilience, I think of these foundational things that we can do as defenders to reduce that cost of attack. Raise that cost of attack for those attackers. Make it much harder for them, make it much more expensive for them, because remember that cybercrime economy, they are running a business. One of our #1 recommendations, and there's been variations of these 5 over the last several years as part of our annual digital defense report. The #1 recommendation continues to be phish-resistant multi-factor authentication. Our attack data indicates 99% of all compromises could be at least prevented in some way through the implementation of MFA, especially for your privileged accounts. Every attacker is going after your privileged accounts, and then they're going after your data. #2 is to embrace a zero trust framework. For those that aren't necessarily familiar with it, this is a concept or a framework that encourages you to not assume trust. You verify each access request explicitly. You implement least privileged access wherever possible. And you assume breach, that your defense, some of your defense in depth measures will fail, and you need to be able to detect, respond, and recover to those quickly. We also believe in a strong, this notion of a strong endpoint security solution integrated with a strong identity security solution, and be able to quickly correlate those data, surface alerts that are meaningful for your SOC teams, and to be able to action those quickly. Number 4, patching. Keep up to date. That continues to be a best practice. And then the last recommendation, which we're really here to talk to you today about, which I think is the sort of next maturity level in that phase of evolution of cyber resilience, is how to protect your data. I think this has historically been a challenging area for organizations, just because of the data estate is so is so vast. Even one of the most daunting challenges is just simply understanding the scope and scale, where your data is, what systems does it live on, is it on unmanaged devices versus managed devices, BYOD, USB sticks, you name it. And almost the scope and scale of the problem is just so daunting. I think a lot of organizations struggle with, where do I even begin? Overly permissive access is a golden ticket for adversaries when they get into your environment. If everyone has access to everything, and we know it's really hard to only give users access to the data they need for their job and their role, but that's certainly the challenge and the opportunity that we see with data and data security strategies. Insider risk is, again, one of these thorny problems that has been historically really hard to get a handle on and have visibility into how your users are using that data. What are the risky behaviors, whether that's malicious or whether that's just accidental and they're just not following policies or they just don't care, right? Those people are, they don't need to break in because they're already in and have full access to your systems depending on the permissions that you've set up. When sensitive data leaves the organization, because we know it will, we want to ensure that data is protected and that the security travels with the data. And then certainly with the growing capabilities of AI, and you've probably heard a lot about AI over the past couple days, these generative AI systems that are coming into place, like Microsoft 365 Copilot, is going to provide a whole new lens on your unstructured data. And this will certainly surface opportunities to improve data governance if you don't have these permissions set up on certain things properly. So, as we get to the sort of next step here, so like, how do I get started? This has always been the challenge. First and foremost, we believe that you need an integrated approach. Here, Purview is Microsoft's integrated security solution to discover, classify, and protect data wherever it lives. But we do know every organization has data that exists across endpoints, file shares, a variety of platforms, cloud platforms, other platforms, and this gets challenging. It's very helpful to understand the user intent and the context to determine what those users are, how those users are handling that data, and whether is that risky, is that not risky? How do you determine that? You're looking to get a diverse number of signals to integrate there, and this just obviously can't be a technology thing. This needs to be integrated into the business risk with stakeholders across the business and others involved in this whole data security and governance strategy. So Microsoft certainly doesn't cover every scenario when it comes to data security. This is where our partners like Qohash build on and can complement Microsoft Purview to help organizations develop an even more comprehensive approach. And then great partners like KPMG helping customers build out their data governance strategies and bring their insights from their practical incident response experience to those engagements. So I'd like to turn it over to Guy to further discuss the approach to understanding your unstructured data.
Thanks, John. Thank you. Thank you very much, John. So we all agree we need to protect our data, but it's really, really hard to protect what you cannot see. Not that long ago, Gartner came up with a statistics. They said that the vast majority of the blind spot regarding sensitive information in an organization is actually unstructured data. So that's the data that your employees are using on their device. That's the data that your employee are sharing on SharePoint, and that's the data that you will find and find again on shared drive. Why does it matter? Well, it matters because most of the organizations now have employees working from home on their device using unsecure network, accessing information and syncing information on their device because it's just easier for them to do so. It matters because, and we've been telling it for a while now, there's more data. There's more data. And now with AI, there's going to be even more data. But with AI, the AI will not just generate data. It will use the unstructured and the structured data to come up with results. All of that in a situation where, well, frankly, organizations are mostly still using obsolete tools to figure out where's the data. And that's when they're using tools, because we're still seeing organizations that decides to just do their research manually and try to figure out where's the risk, where's the sensitive data, in a context where we're all suffering from a talent shortage and basically where we're all trying to figure out ways to reduce our expenses. All of that while different legislations are putting in place new law, new regulations to force organizations to be more compliant, to actually be more secure with their sensitive information. We have Law 25 in Quebec, there's GDPR in Europe, but there's also a lot more new regulations that are coming into force in the US and in the rest of Canada. So with that in mind, we all want to agree and we all want to follow some fundamental values with regards to data securities. All the organizations are looking to reduce the risk, reduce their risk, and basically less sensitive data means less risk. We also all want good governance, and I mean good governance is not just there to increase your ESG score, it actually is there with good data governance to help you with your processes, to make things simpler for your team and ensure that they're performant. And talking about performance, and that quote is actually from John, when you think about compliance, doing data security well helps you with compliance. It actually helps you streamline your processes, making sure that if you have to go through an audit, it's just going to be easier if you've got good data security, making sure that if something were to happen, it's just going to make you easier, it's just going to make it easier to do the notification and go on with all the entire process. But at the end of the day, what we're all trying to do is making better decisions. And to be able to make better decisions, well, you need better data. You need better data. You need to be well informed and ensure that basically you're basing your decision on the ground truth. So we realize that if you want to follow or achieve those fundamental values with data security, what you need is visibility and control. And that's where our partnership with Microsoft and KPMG is actually landing. We realized that a few months ago, actually, Microsoft had this perfect tool. It's actually a toolbox. It's called Purview. It's a great organizational tool that you can think it as the top-down integrated control that you need for your organization that will make risk management, compliance, and governance easy. But we also realized that we could empower and help that tool to be more relevant by providing that granular visibility on the user, on the unstructured data at scale within the organization, being able to provide that predictive view of what the user are actually doing with the information. Together, we believe that we're better at providing you with visibility and control. Why does it matter? In the approach of data security posture management, there's a level of maturity that we believe organizations should aim to achieve. And frankly, we're here to promote our companies, we're here to promote our services or product, but at the end of the day, all the organization should aim to attain a level of maturity and data posture maturity that is relevant. And to do so, it starts by understanding where is your data. Where is your data, be it structure or unstructured. A lot of organizations we see are going to try to placard cybersecurity everywhere to the same level, MFA everywhere, encryption everywhere, and then they spend money while they don't really understand where's the risk, where's the data. So you need to be able to understand your data first. Then you need to be able to understand who has access to that data. They're your crown jewel. You want to know who's basically handling within your organization those crown jewels. What it matters? Well, at the end of the day, you want to be able to determine and understand how data is being used. And that's really important because actually, a lot of organizations will start to wonder how their data is being used after a breach, after a major incident. What we're doing together is helping you to have a proactive, predictive view of how your data is being used in order to actually position a data security posture that makes sense. And why do you want that? It's simpler. When you've got a data security posture that makes sense, when your data is well handled, when your risk is decreased, then you can focus elsewhere. You can care about something else that's more important because this is going to be under control. So the aim of our partnership is basically to get you to that level of maturity by giving you 24/7 visibility and control on your data. And I want to give a shout out to KPMG because KPMG trusted Qohash at the beginning, and they were the first to actually see what success looked like and how you could maximize both Purview and Qohash to make sure that their client could have the correct security posture. And without further ado, I'll pass it to Guillaume.
Thank you, Guy. That's a good segue to my portion. Well, despite all the effort and initiative that we've put forward in the past years for cybersecurity challenges, I really think, and we really think that unstructured data, the files, we'll talk about unstructured data from the beginning, but for those who are not aware of what it means, it's the famous files, okay? And we think that unstructured data is probably one of the biggest compliance and security risks that you face right now. You know, we've put aside that one of the root cause of many issues we have in cybersecurity. We put aside that topic for too long now. As John and Guy mentioned, you know, there's files everywhere. We use files more than ever, surprisingly. We find files, as you know, on desktops, emails, SharePoints, Teams, personal, professional OneDrives, and so on, and you know, with other cloud providers also. Files are easy to duplicate, they're easy to accumulate, but you know, just one file can contain thousands of sensitive data. One file can contain also just a secret recipe that is very important to your organization. And we talk often about databases, structured data, but to my opinion, unstructured data files are more risky than a database. And if you think about it, you know, and almost all exfiltration of databases take the form of a file before, you know, that goes somewhere else. Then that would be nice also if we can identify those type of events. You know, export of a database that becomes a file. Now with the technology, we can, you know, identify those type of events. Oh, Jesus Christ. My slides are so boring that I wanted to stick on your slide. We do a lot of incident response, okay, for many years now, and we do witness what's happening in the real world. And those threat actors, especially the cyber extortion attacks, are mainly based right now on data exfiltration. And there's still encryption happening, but data exfiltration is one of the main motives of those threat actors. And what they do exfiltrate, it's files, okay, unstructured data. And I think for many years now, we've put on a silver platter those files, easy to access, easy to steal. And we've done some incident where threat actors just took the control of one desktop, one PC, and on that PC, they had everything to blackmail, the victim. Like I said, just one file or a few files can create a lot of impact for an organization. And but then it ends up that right now, we see big exfiltration of data. Sometimes it's in the terabyte territory, and we can imagine what's the impact of that. But that's not it. We are in an era, where collaboration is at the forefront of our day-to-day activities. And the collaboration technologies and strategy, they encourage us to share files, to access files. But we're entering also a new era of AI. You've touched it a bit, John. And AI will give us a lot of goods, a lot of capabilities that will change probably the way we work on a daily basis. But if I take it as an example, Microsoft Copilot, that will be out in a few months now, John. Is it, yeah? Pretty quickly. And Microsoft Copilots will take the form of many modules, many capabilities. This is tomorrow, okay? It will be embedded in your Office 365 suite, or M365 suite. And one example of Copilot, of one of the functionalities of Copilot. Copilot will give you access to the data residing in the files you have access to. This is sexy, okay? It sounds good for now, and I think it's a very good idea. But the thing is, I'm very concerned about something. And you're probably gonna agree with that. Most users and employees in an organization have too much access for what they need to access at the beginning, but they have too much access to begin with, sorry. But the second part, they have access to files that they don't even know about. And we do a lot of engagements for many years now, incident response and now data security engagements, and we've proven, like almost every day, every week, that there's sensitive data residing in public folders, public teams. It's everywhere. Sometimes even on our own laptop, probably there's files there that we don't remember that they are there. Then Copilot will give us access in almost instantaneously to those files, to this data. They will summarize the data, they will crunch it, and they will present you this. Then I'll let you imagine what could be the result, tomorrow if we don't address the issue right now. And I guess there's kind of a prerequisite before enabling those type of technologies. And this is coming like tomorrow. Then AI will make probably the actual situation, the actual risk, like exponential. Sorry about the AI stuff, and I'm very positive about AI for sure, but I think we need to be careful. Then I think that this issue, this challenge needs to be addressed sooner than later. We're very serious about that. And if you do so, I think it needs to be structured in a project. It needs to be a project. You cannot improvise using those technologies like Purview and Qohash, using just the technology and think that it's going to solve all your problems. Even worse, doing manual work, like manual discovery, manual analysis of the files. This is crazy. It's going to be endless, and probably you're going to end up nowhere with that. Then the thing is, you need to put together a project. You need to set your priorities, set your objectives. Of course, one of the first, I would say, activity you want to do is some cleanup, okay? Then if you want to do the cleanup, you're going to have to define what needs to be cleaned as a priority. You're going to go step by step. Also, you're going to need to involve business units, service lines, very, very important. It's not a good idea to let a cybersecurity analyst call John in the HR department saying, hey, John, you have 25 files on your computer. Why is that? You know, John is doing this for probably 10 years, and he's probably doing it as an official, legit business function, okay? Then you need to involve business unit, it needs to be planned, and probably you will have to involve change management, change in behaviors, change also probably in some IT systems. That, you know, we've seen a lot of activities that the files is part of an official export for them system, doing XYZ task in the Excel, pump it up in the database afterwards. But this is a legit task. But those files, you know, they reside on, they stay on the computer forever. Pardon me, 1 minute, that's perfect. Then, of course, you're going to have to implement those technologies. It needs to be planned. There's configuration that comes with it. But after you've done your first pass, second pass, there's a continuous aspect to it also. Then all the actual monitoring of behavior, data usage, and potential malicious activity needs to be done. Then that's going to add up to your actual task and your actual challenges. But we think that it's probably more important than many other stuff you're working on right now. Everything is important, but I think you acknowledge, and I'm sure you understood the importance of data security and data governance from now on. And that was a sneak peek of a very, very complex topic. We could go on forever, I guess. Thank you, John. Thank you, Guy, to have been on the stage with me. And I don't think there's time left for any questions.
Still have time.
Oh, yes. Well, that's perfect.
We do have time for some questions.
Good. And after that, we're going to gather around the Qohash booth, because Microsoft and KPMG doesn't have enough money to have our own booth. And we use Qohash for that strategy. And we'll be at the Qohash booth later. Thank you.
Which number is your booth?
Which number?
The booth. 408? 408?
408, yes.
408. Donc, on aurait le temps pour quelques questions. Tu as remercié tout le monde, mais merci à toi aussi, Guillaume. Donc, est-ce qu'il y a des personnes qui auraient des questions pour savoir comment la cohésion s'est faite entre les 3 entreprises ou des questions qui ont rapport à une personne en particulier? C'est le moment, on a un gros 5 minutes. Ne vous gênez pas, encore une fois, on est là pour ça, ils sont là pour ça, donc je vous invite à venir au micro pour pouvoir poser votre question. Going once, going twice. Nobody? Ça veut dire que vous allez aller les voir à leur bout, c'est ce que je comprends? Le rendez-vous est au 408. Messieurs, un grand merci. Thank you so much.